that they've gotten a complaint to the hotline. You know, the people have gotten used to the turbines. To them, it's just background item. They don't notice them. Animals don't notice them. They don't care. They're just there. Now, as far as the community benefits, we've discussed this. You guys are correct, and many people feel only the landowners are going to benefit from these turbines. That's wrong. It's not just the landowners, it's everybody within Fremont. Anybody that's a taxpayer in the town of Fremont will receive a benefit. How do you do that? We talked about it. It's the money that will come in from the host community agreement, from the pilot agreement, to the tune of over $700,000 per year. That is adjusted as an inflationary adjustment. That's coming to your town, the money. What doesn't come? All the people. You would, right? So you get money for the schools, you get money for the community, fire department, police, everyone else, but you're not getting a whole bunch of new persons to your community that put a burden on those services. You get all the benefits.
Why aren't you getting new people to the community?
Because we're giving you $700,000, right, from wind turbines.
Yeah.
Wind turbines don't go to school, right?
Why aren't we getting any more people to move in the community?
You may, it's don't twist the words, right? So all I'm saying is that you get the financial benefit without the burden. That's it.
I disagree with you. I'm in a lot of groups all over the country, and I disagree. I've talked to people. I've seen a lot of things detrimental with these wind turbines, and not the money that you're talking about.
Sure. I'd recommend a trip. Yeah, you want to hear them, you want to experience them.
Are you going to take me to people that you've handpicked
Sure
to
thing.
talk to?
No,
I'm sure that's what you're going to do.
I thought you were going to ask me, would I allow you to talk to anybody? Absolutely. Definitely. We would take you up there and drop you off. You may knock on as many or as little doors as you need. Yeah, there's nothing deceitful. We were just up there, and I was mailing a pair of socks to a relative of mine, and asked the postal service worker in the middle of the day in the town of Eagle, New York. Here's what I said.
Why did they not want them in Rochester?
I don't know. I'm not in Rochester. Yeah, and asked the postal worker. So how are people getting along with these wind turbines? That's all I said. And she said, and I quote, "I'd never go back. Never go back." Like they're there. She's like, fine with them. So.
Everybody benefits, that's the whole thing of it, everybody benefits. Every person in the town.
They just had a lawsuit, I think it was in Reading, from, I believe, a law firm out of Syracuse. They settled out of court for a lot of these issues. So also there was a woman on YouTube that was over in Cohocton that was initially for the turbines, was crying on there, and all of a sudden it's disappeared. But you know, there is a lot of stuff out there, and just the fact that a lawsuit was settled out of court really kind of does raise some questions.
I'd still offer to make the trip. I mean, you belabor the process, right? And certainly there'll be additional opportunity for the town to get involved during the Article 10 process, the entire town.
Texas has some of the most turbines in this country, and they hate them.
So I built
Germany are getting rid of their
They're
turbines.
not.
That's why they're coming over here.
They're not. That's incorrect.
And what is it?
The thing with Texas-
Germany moved their setback to 1.5 kilometers because they found that what they had before was too close to homes. Now 1.5 kilometers is about a mile. I mean, we're talking about 750 feet if the manufacturer doesn't have any stipulation. So that's quite a distance for somebody that's already had them in effect. Now they're saying that across any more that go in have to be 1.5 kilometers from people's houses. That's a big jump. So it must not all be hunky-dory.
So you're seeing new project, you're seeing additional project development in Germany. There are new turbines going up in Germany. Okay, in regards to population density, don't know, right? Provide the data, love to take a look at it, right? In regards to Texas and the hate turbines, incorrect. Just built a project in San Ramon, right? In southeast corner, coastal project in Texas. They don't hate turbines. They've got a lot of them. You're right. You're absolutely right. There are, but they don't hate them.
That's your opinion.
I think we've been through all this too many times before already. my estimation anyway. You hash this stuff over time and time again.
Well, of course,
It's time we
you're
do
in
something.
agreement,
Got it going.
Now, as for the L10, that was in the original law?
It's 50 dB L10.
Yes, that's correct. And we agreed on 45, L10. LEQ can be manipulated in over 8 hours especially. I mean, you could have 90, 70, 30, 0.
Could you just explain what does LEQ mean in simple terms?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, so they're logarithmic measurements of sound and of ways to measure sound at the receptor, which would be your ears, right, for people. And to measure that, the groups use LEQ. It's a sound level it's like an equivalent base sound level. So we'll contrast that to L10s and L90s are statistical based. So when you get into bell curves, right, essentially the 10% and the 90% are outliers. Remember, way down on one side of the curve, way up on the other side of the curve. And those numbers are extrapolated to provide an example of the sound dynamics within that middle range, right? It's not a useful, it's an incorrect measurement for sound at the receptor, at your ears.
Could we use max? Just a maximum level?
Great question.
Then it can just be,
Yeah,
we can go right there to someone's house, put that on and say, okay.
we use that one, right? Independent engineer, right?
Of course not, it'd
Yeah.
have to be yours.
No, it could be, you hire the independent engineer, not
But
me.
it's-
We don't wanna have to hire, we want them to be quiet from the get-go. We don't wanna have
We
to
don't
spend
wanna fight
thousands.
with you guys.
Right.
Because once they're up, the common people don't have the resources to do any, complaints and make sure things are right.
And you probably
We
don't
work,
get a lot
we
of
work
complaints.
lives, we gotta
People
pay
get
for
sick.
houses,
No, they don't.
we got mortgages, we don't want our house degraded.
So, we can look into the maximum.
and we gotta create the code enforcement.
One thing that I'd just like to add is that in the Article 10 process for the pre-construction and post-construction monitoring, all of that is on an LEQ basis. And so the L10 is not really the tool that regulators use for monitoring sound after construction of a wind farm. LEQ is the standard.
Well, why we switched to the L10 is because in our wind law this is the original definition. Means the level which is equaled or exceeded a stated percentage of time. And L10-45 dBA indicates that in any hour of the day, 45 dBA can be equaled or exceeded only 10% of the time or for
Right.
6 minutes.
Right.
So that's pretty easy to measure and not have an average. It's pretty clean, cut and dry, versus the LEQ where it can be averaged over an hour.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I hear what you're saying, I just wanted to provide the background as to what is used as the standard in the Article 10 process and the standard across acoustical noise modeling, that's all. And that we checked with our consultants and they're not aware, and maybe there are other projects that we're not aware of, but they're not aware of projects using L10 for post-construction sound monitoring, they use LEQ.
Well, if we would have stuck with the original wind law, it would have been 50 L10.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
So we just dropped it 5 decibel. So here we are.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You gonna get your money to put these up through the IDA?
So there's the pilot programs are available in the state of New York, right? The payment in lieu of taxes, which is what you're asking, right?
So after 10 years, they will be getting nothing.
No, that's wrong. So there's a certain,
Down to North Hornell, that's what happened down there with them.
yeah, you got a certain period of time where you've got that agreement with the IDA. Once that expires, you go on the tax rolls. Okay, so it's taxed as real property.
As I know with my boss, when they was building them in Cohocton and everybody was complaining, everybody wanted free electric, that's what the hell it come down to downtown. He was telling me, he says, oh, but the town's gonna do good. They're gonna get $4 million a year. I used to take them the paper every night. The IDA come in there and they got started without the IDA. The IDA come in there and changed everything around. You had to have union operators, you had to have this. After they come in, I said, hey Ted, a year later, I says, how'd you make out? Not too bad. He says, we're getting 750,000 a year. I said, that's a long ways away from 4 million. That's because I was just trying to see what that's coming down to. If it's 10 years and then you're free and clear.
What's that pilot, 20, I think it's 20 year.
20 year.
But you can only do a 10-year pilot.
I think here it's 20. I think it's 20. Pretty awfully sure. 20-year pilot. And
I
then
got a
tax.
quick
Is that a
question.
special one?
No. That's what's offered. 1 year.
But we've already opted out of the pilot.
So all the money that comes to the town from these projects, does it come from EverPower? Is it in the fact that the IDA gives you a special tax break? Instead of paying $1 million in taxes, you pay, say, for example, $250,000 to the town.
So
And then is NYSERDA bringing in some money? So is EverPower giving the money, or is it coming from corporate welfare systems?
yeah, so the money is coming from two sources. The host community agreement is directly between the project, which is owned by Energy, and Energy recently bought EverPower. That is directly from the project to the town, and then there's the pilot agreement that is between the project and the Steuben County IDA that will be worth $806,000 per year, of which 28% goes directly to the town, and then the rest goes to the school districts and the county,
The IDA, not the county.
or the IDA, sorry.
What about the tax credits? Where does that money come from?
The production tax credits,
Yeah,
that's a government subsidy, federal government.
yeah.
So is that based per megawatt?
That's on it's for the amount of energy produced.
Per megawatt produced.
And then you get a NYSERDA credit too, right?
No, NYSERDA is just the contract that we executed.
But they give you an additional
They're
above and
buying.
beyond what
They
other
buy
companies.
it.
Yes, at an inflated rate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's competitively bid. Competitively bid, it is. There's wind, there's solar, there's other renewable sources within that contract.
Yes.
So we were
two-
chosen.
yes.
You're seeing now time and time again how, believe it or not, wind energy is having downward pressure on consumer prices. I don't know the going rate per kilowatt here. I guess you're 8+ cents per kilowatt on your
10.
bill. 10? Tell you we're selling our power far below that.
That's how most utilities buy it. far
Yeah,
below that.
exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't Energy recently bought up by Ian too?
No, actually, no.
I thought I just read that.
No, they're
Yeah.
gonna be probably.
You want the okay?
Next
You're,
year.
you're
Yeah,
gonna.
whiteboard. So there's a transaction, you're right, yeah, that's a good point too. There's a transaction between E.ON, it's a large, call it a blue chip German utility, okay, very strong company that's been around for many, many years, along with RWE.
What does that mean?
RWE is another large German utility, been around for many, many years, blue chip stock, you have market caps of billions of dollars, meaning they're gonna be here for a while. In this particular, in 2016, I think we've covered this, RWE spun off the generation portion within RWE and went public, right, in Germany. The money that they raise in Germany are what they're spending here in the US. They're making that investment, and they created an office. I'll get back to that, got some good news. And we also invested in people, invested in EverPower, right, in order to bring these projects forward. Okay, so the transaction is between E.ON and RWE. RWE is a 76% shareholder of Energy, where E.ON's generation, wind, solar, is going over to RWE, and RWE is moving some of its transmission line assets over to E.ON. All subject to regulatory approval within Germany, oversight, and that's what's going on. So that is occurring. We don't have a lot, additional information would include that they'll inspect the transaction and close until sometime late next year.
So we'll have another company to deal with
I
that
don't know,
next year?
it's gonna be us, same people, same company,
That's what we heard a few months ago.
same one, you're dealing with the same people, same guy, yeah.
So you said something that kind of raised my eyebrows here. When you figure out the host community agreement and you tell us what kilowatt or megawatt turbine you're gonna put in, that's what we get paid on. We don't get paid on what it's producing.
That's correct,
We
Yeah,
get paid
that's
on
a
what it's
great point.
rated,
yeah,
right?
that's
Okay.
absolutely correct, yeah, you're paid on the nameplate,
Right.
the output, that's right, whether we produce or not, that's correct.
So it's on a per megawatt basis. And all the turbines are rated at a certain number of megawatts.
And you guys are at 3.75 now?
So again, this is the chicken and the egg
Yeah.
scenario, right? Like, the moment that we have the box to work within, this law, final, then
That's
we
when
can
we'll find out.
finalize all of our turbine locations. And the moment that's the moment that we can tell you, our nameplate capacity for the amount of megawatts in Fremont, which will determine the host community agreement payment.
So in theory, the town could be actually getting less money than what you're saying based on the nameplate.
Correct. So if turbine locations are lost, then less money comes into the town.
Well, that don't make sense if you get paid per megawatt. So if you lose a turbine, it's less megawatts, you're gonna lose money.
I just wanted to touch real quick on that L10. I agree with everything Supervisor Murray said. I mean, looked into a lot of that, and I think you should leave it at L10. If the siting board has a problem with it, then I guess they'll say something. But this is our law for our community, and that's what you guys are doing to protect. One other issue I wanted to bring up, I know I went to a couple of Hartsville meetings, and one of the issues down there was wind rights. And I haven't heard anybody talk about that either. I've got a leasee here from 7/18 of 2014. I just wanted to read this one part here. It says, no interference. Among other things, the leasing agreement provides that landowners' activities and any grant of rights landowner makes to any person or entity, whether located on the property or elsewhere, that's what concerns me, the elsewhere, shall not currently or in the future impede or interfere with the siting, permitting, construction, installation, maintenance, operation, replacement, or removal of wind power facilities, whether located on the property or elsewhere, the flow of wind, the wind speed, wind direction over the property, access over the property of wind power facilities, whether located on the property or elsewhere, any development activities or the undertaking of any other activities of leasee permitted under the lease agreement. In no event during the term of the lease agreement shall landowner construct, build, or locate, or allow others to construct, build, or locate any wind energy conversion system, wind turbine, or similar project on the property. And that was one of the concerns they had down in Hartsville, was that somebody getting a turbine would be impeding on somebody else's wind rights. So could you elaborate on that a little, Chip, please?
Yeah, I think that's somewhat standard language within easement agreements, somewhat standard. The whole practical purpose of that is to keep somebody from building, let's say, their own wind turbine tower in front of ours, for whatever reason, to build, a 4 times higher than normal grain silo, something along those lines that would obstruct airflow to our turbine.
Like a big barn or something?
Like a really big barn. So, in those instances where there's concern that there's been allowance within the easement for structures, but you put a height limit, just as you have, our blades can't be within 30 feet of the ground, then we would put some type of either, if you want to build your own windmill, fine, just don't build it within X feet of ours, right? If you want to build your barn, that's great. Build it over here, or don't build it beyond a certain height. That's all. Nothing spooky about that.
But that's the problem, though. If somebody's not a leasee or a good neighbor, where do you go with their rights? Somebody wants to put up a barn on their property, and they're not a good neighbor or leasee, and you're kind of basically restricting that by saying, well, it can only be this height or it can only be in this location. I guess that's one of my concerns.
Sure, I would be too. Unfortunately, the clause I'm speaking of only pertains to those who have signed the agreement. That's with whom we have any